In the world of werewolves, there are bonds that cannot be broken, mates chosen by the moon goddess herself. But sometimes, fate has other plans. Aviana stood before the mirror in her bedroom, silk nightgown clinging to her skin. Tonight marked 1 year since she married Martin Bowen, the son of the Silver Creek Pack's Beta. 1 year of sleeping in separate rooms. 1 year of her husband refusing to complete their bond. 1 year of being a wife who had never been claimed. She was still unmated, still untouched, still wondering what was wrong with her that her own husband couldn't bear to mark her as his. The anniversary dinner downstairs had been perfect on the surface. Candles, wine, pack members stopping by to congratulate them. Martin had smiled, thanked them all, played the role of devoted husband. But the moment the last guest left, he'd retreated to his study, just like every other night. Aviana's wolf whimpered inside her, desperate for connection, for the touch that would complete their bond, for the mark that would make her truly his. But Martin kept her at a distance, treating her like fragile glass he was afraid to break. Or worse, like something he didn't want at all. Her phone lit up with a message from Scarlett, her best friend from the Moonstone Pack. "Happy anniversary. Hope your mate is spoiling you tonight." Mate. The word felt like a lie. How could Martin be her mate when he refused to claim her? When he looked at her with polite distance instead of the burning need other mated pairs shared? Tonight, standing in that silk nightgown, feeling more alone than ever, Aviana made a decision. On her, she couldn't live like this anymore. She needed answers. She needed help. She needed to understand why her own mate rejected her. Before we dive into Aviana's story, if you love werewolf romances with strong female leads, powerful alphas, and bonds that defy expectations, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Drop a comment telling me, would you stay in a loveless bond or risk everything for your true mate? Now let's get back to Aviana's journey from rejected wife to alpha queen. Chapter 1. The Bowen estate sat on the edge of Silver Creek Pack territory. Beautiful grounds, a sprawling house, every comfort a werewolf could want. But comfort wasn't warmth, and beauty couldn't fill the emptiness growing inside Aviana's chest. She walked down the stairs, bare feet silent on polished wood. Martin sat in his study, the door half open. He was reviewing pack documents, always working, always busy with everything except his wife. "Martin?" He looked up, expression pleasant but distant. Always distant. "Yes, Aviana?" "It's our anniversary." "I know. Dinner was lovely. You did an excellent job organizing everything." She stepped into the study, her wolf pushing her forward even as fear held her back. I thought maybe tonight we could complete the bond." Martin's entire body went rigid. His scent shifted, carrying notes of discomfort and something else. Fear. "Aviana, we've discussed this." "We haven't discussed anything. You just keep saying we should wait." "But it's been a year, Martin. A whole year. Other couples complete their bonds on their wedding night. What are we waiting for?" He set down his pen, running a hand through his hair. "It's complicated." "Then explain it to me. Please, I need to understand what I'm doing wrong." "You're not doing anything wrong." But he wouldn't meet her eyes, wouldn't look at her directly. I need more time." "How much more time? Another year? 5 years? Forever?" "I don't know." Those 3 words shattered something inside her. He didn't know. Didn't know if he'd ever want her. Didn't know if he'd ever claim her as his mate. Didn't know if she'd spend the rest of her life in this beautiful prison, unmated and unwanted. "I see." Her voice came out flat, empty. "Good night, Martin." "Good night, Aviana." She left the study and climbed the stairs to her lonely bedroom. Her wolf howled inside her, the sound of an animal in pain. This wasn't how mating was supposed to work. Wolves were meant to be with their mates, bodies and souls intertwined. The moon goddess didn't make mistakes. So why did this feel like the biggest mistake of her life? 3 days later, Aviana met Scarlett and 2 other friends, Alexis and Jordan, for lunch in town. All 3 were happily mated, their bonds complete, their wolves content. They talked about pack runs and marking ceremonies and the comfortable intimacy of mated life. Aviana smiled and nodded, hiding the ache in her chest. "You've been quiet," Alexis observed. "Is everything okay with you and Martin?" "Fine, just tired." Scarlett studied her with knowing eyes. Scarlett was a strong wolf, perceptive and direct. "Aviana, You can talk to us. We're your friends. There's nothing to talk about. But there was everything to talk about. And like how her marriage was a hollow shell. Like how Martin treated her more like a roommate than a mate. Like how her wolf was slowly going crazy from the lack of a completed bond. That night, desperate and ashamed, Aviana did something she'd never thought she'd do. She called Andy, an old friend from before her marriage. Andy was a lone wolf, not attached to any pack, who knew everyone and everything happening in the werewolf world. I need your help, she told him. I need to find someone who can help me save my mating bond. Andy was silent for a long moment. How bad is it? Martin hasn't claimed me, won't complete the bond. It's been a year and I'm still unmated. Moon goddess, Andy breathed. That's Aviana. That's not normal. Have you talked to your pack alpha? No, I don't want this getting back to Martin's family. I just need someone who can teach me how to make him want me, how to make this work. There's someone, Andy said slowly, but he's dangerous, Aviana. His name is Harold Best. They call him the Alpha King because he's the strongest, most powerful alpha in the entire region. No pack dares challenge him. He doesn't follow normal pack rules, and he definitely doesn't help people save their matings. He destroys them. Why would you suggest him then? Because if anyone can help you, it's him. But you need to understand what you're risking. Harold Best doesn't do anything for free, and he's not known for his mercy. Aviana's wolf stirred, curious despite the warning. Something about the name Harold Best made her heart race. Where can I find him? He runs a place called The Throne. It's neutral territory, offering where wolves from different packs can meet. But Aviana, please be careful. Once you step into Harold's world, there's no going back. Chapter 2. The Throne existed in neutral territory, a place between pack lands where no alpha held authority. Andy had given Aviana the address, along with one final warning. Don't go unless you're absolutely sure. Harold Best is not a wolf you want to owe a favor. But Aviana was past caring about warnings. She needed help, and she'd run out of options. She dressed simply, jeans and a sweater, nothing that screamed Silver Creek Pack. The last thing she needed was pack politics getting in the way. The building looked abandoned from the outside, just an old warehouse in the industrial district. But when Aviana approached the door, it opened before she could knock. A woman stood there, tall, strong, with the aura of a high-ranking wolf. Her eyes were sharp as she assessed Aviana. Name? Aviana Payne. You're expected. The interior was nothing like the exterior. Wood and stone, low lighting, wolves moving through the space with purpose. Aviana could feel the power in the air. These weren't ordinary wolves. These were the strong ones, the dangerous ones. The woman introduced herself as Clara and led Aviana down a hallway. The Alpha King doesn't usually take personal meetings. You must have impressed Andy. I just need advice. Clara glanced back at her, something like pity in her eyes. Advice from Harold Best comes with a price. Remember that. She stopped at a door, knocked once, then entered without waiting. Ms. Payne is here. Send her in. That voice, deep, rough, carrying the unmistakable weight of alpha power. It rolled over Aviana like thunder, making her wolf sit up and take notice. She stepped into the office and Clara closed the door behind her. Harold Best sat behind a large desk, but he wasn't looking at papers. He was looking at her. His eyes were golden brown, intense and focused in a way that made Aviana feel exposed. He was broader than Martin, taller, radiating raw alpha energy that filled the entire room. Her wolf reacted immediately, pressing forward with interest. Aviana pushed her back down. This wasn't why she was here. Harold stood and the movement was pure predator. Smooth, controlled, powerful. Mrs. Bowen, please sit. You can call me Aviana. Aviana. He said her name like he was tasting it. Andy tells me you have a problem with your mate bond. Heat rushed to her face. Yes. Tell me about your mate. Martin is a good wolf. Kind. He comes from a strong pack lineage. He's never raised his voice to me, never been cruel. But, the word hung between them, but he won't claim me. We've been married a year, and he hasn't completed our bond. He won't mark me. Won't. She couldn't finish the sentence. Harold's expression didn't change, but his scent shifted slightly. Your mate has refused to complete the bond for an entire year. Yes, and you think the problem is you. It wasn't a question, but Aviana answered anyway. What else could it be? He chose to marry me. If he doesn't want me now, I must be doing something wrong. Harold moved around the desk with deliberate slowness. He stopped in front of her chair, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. The alpha power rolling off him was intense, making her wolf whimper, but not in fear, in recognition. Let me tell you something, Aviana. A male wolf who refuses to claim his mate for a year isn't waiting for the right moment. He's afraid. Martin's not afraid of anything. He's afraid of you, afraid of what you represent, afraid of the power of a completed bond. Harold's voice dropped lower. Or maybe he's just weak. Maybe he married you because you look good for his pack position, but he doesn't have the strength to handle what you really are. What I really am. A she-wolf who needs an alpha, not a beta son playing at leadership. An alpha who can match your strength. Aviana's breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever suggested that Martin was the problem. Not her. Can you help me or not? A slow smile curved Harold's mouth, revealing sharp canines. I can help you, but not the way you think. Chapter 3. Harold returned to his seat, but his eyes never left Aviana's face. I'll teach you how to make your mate crawl back to you, how to command respect, how to use every advantage you have as a she-wolf to get exactly what you want. Hope flared in her chest. You will? On one condition, we make a wager. I'll give you 1 month, 4 weeks of training. At the end of that time, if you still want your mate more than you want me, you can walk away. But if you find that my touch awakens your wolf in ways his never could, you'll accept me as your true alpha. The words should have sent her running, should have made her reject this insane proposal. Instead, they ignited something deep in her wolf, a hunger she didn't understand. That's crazy. I'm already mated. Are you? Where's your mark? Harold's eyes dropped to her neck, bare and unmarked. You're not mated, Aviana. You're married. There's a difference. And deep down, your wolf knows it. Her wolf did know it, had been screaming it for months. She wasn't truly mated. The bond was incomplete, broken, wrong. I came here to save my marriage. Did you? Or did you come here because you finally admitted something was fundamentally broken? Harold leaned forward. I'm offering you a chance to discover what you really need, what your wolf really craves. 1 month. If I'm wrong, you go back to your husband with everything you need to make him want you. If I'm right, his eyes glowed slightly, wolf rising to the surface. You'll never want him again. Aviana stood, in anger and something darker surging through her. You don't know anything about me. Harold stood too, moving around the desk in a blur of alpha speed. He stopped close enough that she could feel the heat from his body, close enough that his scent, pine and earth and pure male wolf, surrounded her completely. I know your wolf is dying for a true alpha's touch. I know you've never felt truly claimed. I know that right now your heart is racing not from fear, but from recognition. He was right. Her pulse thundered. Her wolf pushed forward, desperate to get closer to this male, this alpha who radiated the kind of power Martin had never possessed. 1 month, Harold said softly. Let me show you what it means to be claimed by an alpha. If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. If I'm right, you gain everything. Aviana should have said no. He should have walked out and never looked back. But standing there, drowning in Harold's presence, feeling her wolf respond to him in ways she'd never responded to Martin, she couldn't deny the truth. She needed to know, needed to understand if this pull she felt was real or just desperation. 1 month, she heard herself say, but I won't belong to anyone. This is just training. Harold's smile was pure predator. We'll see. Chapter 4. The first training session happened 2 nights later. Aviana arrived at the throne nervous and uncertain. Harold waited in a private room, arms crossed, watching her enter. Do you know why your mate keeps his distance? He asked without preamble. No, because you've made yourself small, submissive. You move through his life like you're apologizing for existing. Harold circled her slowly. Lesson 1. A strong she-wolf doesn't beg for attention. She commands it. I don't understand. Come here. Aviana crossed to him, stopping a few feet away. Closer. She took another step. Do you always obey so quickly? The question stung. You told me to come closer. I gave you an order, and you followed it without question. That's submission. That's what you do with your mate. You submit before he even asks. Harold stopped in front of her. When you want something, do you demand it or request it? Aviana thought about all the times she'd asked Martin to spend time with her, asked if they could talk, asked if he wanted dinner together, always asking, never demanding. I request it. And he ignores you, because wolves respond to strength, not weakness. Harold's hand came to rest on her lower back, the touch sending electricity through her entire body. Stand straighter, shoulders back, eyes on mine. She adjusted her posture, forcing herself to meet his intense gaze. Better. Now, when you want your mate's attention, you don't ask. You take it. Walk into a room like you own it. Speak like you expect to be heard. Move like you know your worth. The lesson continued for over an hour. Harold taught her how to hold her ground when challenged, how to project confidence, how to let her wolf show without submitting. By the end, Aviana felt different, stronger somehow, more solid. Same time tomorrow, Harold said as she prepared to leave. And Aviana, when you go home tonight, don't shrink. Walk in like the alpha female you were meant to be. The second lesson focused on wolf dynamics. Harold explained how alphas recognize strength, how they were drawn to wolves who could match their power. Your mate is beta-born. He's used to following, not leading. When you show strength, it threatens him, makes him feel inadequate. So I'm supposed to be weak to make him comfortable? No, you're supposed to find a wolf who wants your strength, who craves it. The third lesson was about scent. Harold had her shift partially, letting her wolf rise to the surface without fully transforming. Your scent betrays you, he said, circling her in the private training room. It carries submission, uncertainty. A strong she-wolf's scent should carry power. How do I change that? By believing you're worth claiming. He stopped in front of her, close enough that their scents mingled. Close your eyes, she obeyed, her partially shifted senses making everything more intense. To focus on your wolf, feel her strength, her power. She's not some weak creature begging for scraps. She's a hunter, a warrior. Let her rise. Aviana focused inward, connecting with her wolf in a way she hadn't in months. Her wolf surged forward, strong and fierce and hungry. Good, Harold murmured. Now open your eyes. She did and found him watching her with approval. His hand came up, cupping her face gently despite the rough calluses on his palm. The touch sent fire through her veins. This is what touch should feel like, he said quietly. Not hesitant, not apologetic, intentional, claiming. His thumb brushed over her cheekbone, and Aviana's wolf purred. Actually purred. Something she'd never done with Martin. Harold, tell me to stop and I will. But she couldn't. The word wouldn't come. Her wolf was too busy basking in the attention of a true alpha, in the touch of a male who didn't fear her strength. Harold's other hand settled on her waist, pulling her closer. Not forcing, inviting. Your wolf knows the difference between a mate who claims you and one who fears you, between strength and weakness, between an alpha and a beta. He released her then, stepping back. The loss of contact felt like cold water. Go home. Think about what your wolf just told you. Chapter 5. 2 weeks into their arrangement, Aviana barely recognized herself. She moved differently, spoke differently. At a pack gathering, other wolves actually listened when she expressed an opinion. Even Martin's father, the pack beta, nodded with respect. Martin noticed the change but said nothing. Just watched her with confused eyes, like he didn't quite recognize his own wife. At home, Aviana stopped making herself small, stopped apologizing, stopped waiting for scraps of Martin's attention. And Martin's response was the same as always. Polite distance, respectful indifference. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Nothing she did would ever be enough. Because Martin didn't want a strong mate. He wanted someone he could control. Someone who wouldn't challenge him or make him face his own inadequacies. The next session with Harold happened on a Friday night. When Aviana arrived, the training room was dimly lit, intimate. Harold stood by the window, tension visible in every line of his body. You're different tonight, he observed without turning. What happened? I tried everything you taught me. Martin still doesn't care. He's not afraid of me. He doesn't want me. Good. She blinked. Good? Harold turned to face her. You needed to know. Needed to understand this isn't about you being inadequate. It's about him being incapable of recognizing what's in front of him. He crossed the room, stopping close enough that she could feel the heat from his body. Take off your jacket. Aviana hesitated, then slipped out of her jacket. Underneath, she wore a simple shirt, nothing revealing. But the way Harold looked at her made her feel exposed in the best possible way. Do you trust me? I don't know. Honest answer. His hand came up, threading through her hair gently. I'm going to show you what it feels like to be truly claimed by an alpha. If you don't want this, tell me now. Aviana's wolf surged forward, desperate and hungry. She should stop this. One should remember her marriage vows, should think about the consequences. But she was so tired of should, so tired of being unwanted and unloved. Don't stop, she whispered. Harold's eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising to the surface. He pulled her closer, and she went willingly, their bodies aligning perfectly. This is what it should feel like, being wanted, being claimed, not as some trophy, but as an equal. His head lowered, mouth brushing against her neck where a mate mark should be. Aviana gasped, her wolf going wild at the attention. This was what she'd been missing. This intensity, this hunger. Harold's teeth grazed her skin, not breaking it, but making his intentions clear. Say the word and I'll mark you right now. Make you mine. Give your wolf what she's been craving. Aviana's entire body trembled. She wanted it. Moon goddess. Well, she wanted it so badly she could barely think. But some small part of her brain still functioned, still remembered she was technically married. I can't. Not yet. I'm still bound to a male who doesn't deserve you. Harold pulled back, his eyes still glowing. But I'm a patient alpha. When you're ready to leave him, I'll be waiting. Chapter 6. The following week, everything changed. Aviana arrived at the throne for her session and found Clara waiting instead of Harold. He's in a meeting, Clara explained. He asked me to give you a tour while you wait. Clara led her through areas Aviana had never seen. Training facilities where wolves sparred, a medical wing, offices where pack business was conducted. What exactly does Harold do? Aviana asked. Clara and another wolf, Leona, exchanged glances. Ira, you really don't know? Leona asked. Know what? Harold Best isn't just some powerful alpha. He's the Alpha King. He leads the strongest pack in the entire region. He has more wolves under his command than any other alpha alive. He's the wolf other alphas answer to. The world tilted. The Alpha King. Not just powerful, not just dangerous. The most powerful werewolf for hundreds of miles. Why would he help me? Why would he make that bet? Clara smiled gently. Because from the moment you walked into his office, his wolf claimed you. Alpha Kings don't mate weak she-wolves. They made equals, and Harold saw in you what your husband never did, an alpha female. Aviana stumbled backward, her mind reeling. This whole time she thought she was learning to save her marriage, but Harold had been planning something else entirely. Cool, he wants me as his mate. He wants you as his Luna, his equal, the alpha female to stand beside him and lead his pack. Aviana turned and ran, ignoring Clara's calls. She had to get out, had to think, had to process what this meant. She'd been so focused on Martin, on fixing what was broken, that she hadn't seen the truth. Harold wasn't teaching her to be a better mount. He was showing her what she could be, what she deserved. She burst out of the throne and found Harold waiting by her car. He must have sensed her distress. You lied to me, she said. I never lied. You assumed. I simply didn't correct you. You're the Alpha King. You want me as your Luna? That bet wasn't about teaching me. It was about claiming me. Yes. No apology, no denial, just simple truth. From the moment you walked into my office, my wolf knew. You're meant to be mine, not his. Mine. I'm married. To a male who doesn't want you. A male who's had a year to claim you and hasn't. A male who's so weak he can't handle your strength. Harold moved closer. I'm offering you something real. A true mate bond. A place at my side. The chance to be what you were always meant to be. This is insane. Is it? Tell me your wolf doesn't recognize me. Tell me you don't feel the pull between us. Tell me Martin has ever made you feel even a fraction of what you feel with me. She couldn't, because her wolf was screaming at her to accept, to let Harold claim her, to finally complete the bond her soul had been craving. I need time. The month ends in 1 week. That was our deal. Harold's eyes glowed. 1 week to decide, him or me, safety or truth, a broken bond or a real one. Chapter 7. Aviana went home that night in turmoil. Martin was in his study as always. She stood in the doorway, really looking at him for the first time in months. This male had promised to love her, to claim her, to build a life with her. Instead, he'd kept her at a distance, treating her like a burden he was obligated to carry. Martin, we need to talk. He looked up, startled. Is something wrong? Yes, everything. We've been married a year and you still haven't claimed me. You won't mark me, won't complete our bond. I need to know why. Martin set down his pen, looking uncomfortable. Aviana, it's complicated. No more excuses. Tell me the truth. Do you even want me as your mate? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, Aviana found her answer. I care about you, he said finally. You're intelligent, beautiful, from a good family. You're everything I need in a wife. But not everything you want in a mate. I don't know. You've had a year to figure it out, Martin. A year, and you still don't know if you want me. That tells me everything I need to know. She turned to leave. Where are you going? To someone who actually wants me. Not for my family connections or my looks or what I represent. Someone who wants me for me. Aviana spent the next 3 days thinking about Martin, about Harold, about the she-wolf she wanted to be. She realized something important. She didn't want to trade one cage for another, didn't want to go from being Martin's trophy to being Harold's prize. But Harold had never treated her like a prize. He treated her like an equal, challenged her, pushed her to be stronger. The final meeting with Harold came on the last day of their month. Aviana arrived at the throne with her decision made. Harold was waiting in his office, but this time Aviana didn't wait for permission. She walked straight to his desk, placed both hands on the surface, and leaned forward. I have conditions. His eyebrows rose. Conditions? You said I'd belong to you if I chose you. I'm choosing you, but not as some weak she-wolf who needs protecting. As your equal, your Luna, your partner. A slow smile spread across Harold's face. Go on. I won't be hidden away, won't be your secret. If I'm your mate, I'm your mate. I stand beside you, not behind you. I help lead your pack. I make decisions. I'm not just arm candy or a pretty face. You have no idea what you're asking for. My world is dangerous. My pack is powerful. You'll be challenged, tested, targeted. Then teach me to survive it. You've been teaching me to be strong. Keep teaching me. Make me the Luna your pack deserves. Harold stood, moving around the desk. But this time, Aviana held her ground. Didn't back down. Didn't submit. You're serious. Completely. He studied her for a long moment, and she could see the calculation in his eyes. Finally, he nodded. Very well, but understand this, Aviana. Once I claim you, you're mine. My wolf doesn't share. My mark on your neck will tell every wolf in this territory that you belong to the Alpha King. I don't belong to anyone, but I choose you. I choose your strength over Martin's weakness. I choose truth over comfortable lies. I choose to be the she-wolf I was meant to be. Harold's hand came up to cup her face, his touch gentle despite his power. You're going to be magnificent as my Luna. Then he kissed her, and it wasn't gentle. It was claiming, possessive, a promise of everything to come. When they finally broke apart, Aviana's wolf was purring, content for the first time in a year. There's something you should know, Harold said, voice rough. My wolf knew the moment you walked into my office that you were meant to be mine. True mates chosen by the moon goddess herself. That's why your bond with Martin never completed, because he was never your real mate. I am. The words settled into Aviana's soul with perfect clarity. True mates. That's why she'd never felt complete with Martin. Why his touch had never ignited her wolf. Why she'd been drawn to Harold from the first moment. The moon goddess hadn't made a mistake. She'd been guiding Aviana toward her real mate all along. The next day, Aviana returned to the Bowen estate to collect her belongings. She didn't owe Martin an explanation, but she gave him one anyway. She left her wedding ring on his desk with a simple note. Martin, I'm leaving. Not because of anything you did wrong, but because we were never meant to be mates. The moon goddess has shown me my true path, and it's not with you. I hope you find a she-wolf who fits into your life the way you need, but that wolf was never me. Aviana. She called for a ride and a black SUV pulled up. Not Harold's vehicle, but one from his pack. Clara was driving. The Alpha King sent me to make sure you got out safely, Clara explained. As they drove away from the Bowen estate, Aviana felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She wasn't running from Martin. She was running toward herself, toward the life she was meant to live. 95 minutes. Harold was waiting when she arrived at his pack territory, not in his office at the throne, but at the pack house, surrounded by his wolves. Clara and Leona stood nearby, along with dozens of others who'd come to witness their alphas mating. He crossed to her immediately, taking her hand. You're sure? I'm sure. Then kneel. It wasn't a command, it was tradition, the submissive position a she-wolf took when accepting an alpha's claim. But Aviana knelt proudly, head held high, showing the entire pack that she chose this willingly. Harold's eyes glowed pure gold as his wolf rose to the surface. He tilted her head to the side, exposing her neck. I, Harold Best, Alpha King of the Shadow Moon Pack, claim you, Aviana Payne, as my mate and Luna. From this moment until my last breath, you are mine as I am yours. His teeth sank into her neck, not breaking the skin, but marking her with his scent, his power, his claim. The mate bond snapped into place like a physical thing, and Aviana gasped as she felt Harold's wolf merge with hers. This was what she'd been missing. This completion, this rightness, this perfect joining of souls. When Harold pulled back, his mark gleamed on her neck, visible proof to every wolf that she belonged to the Alpha King. He helped her stand, then pulled her close. Welcome home, my Luna. And for the first time in her life, Aviana understood what home truly meant. Not a place, not safety or security, but belonging. Being seen completely and chosen anyway. Being marked and claimed by a wolf who matched her strength instead of fearing it. In Harold's arms, each surrounded by their pack, Aviana finally felt complete. The virgin wife was gone. In her place stood an alpha female who knew her worth. A Luna who'd chosen passion over comfort, truth over lies, and her real mate over a comfortable cage. The moon goddess had guided her path all along, and Aviana had finally been brave enough to follow it. 6 months later, Aviana stood beside Harold at a gathering of regional alphas. She wore her Luna status with pride, her mate's mark visible on her neck for all to see. The pack had challenged her at first, tested her, questioned whether a she-wolf who'd failed one mating could succeed as Luna. But Aviana had met every challenge with the strength Harold had helped her discover. She'd proven herself not as Harold's accessory, but as his equal. Now, in watching her mate negotiate alliances and settle disputes, she felt her wolf purr with contentment. Harold glanced at her, his eyes warming. Through their bond, she felt his love, his pride, his absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. Later that night, alone in their quarters, Harold pulled her close. Do you ever regret it, leaving your old life? Aviana thought about the cold, empty year with Martin, about being invisible and unwanted, about slowly disappearing into a role that was never meant for her. No, not for a single moment. You showed me what I was meant to be, what we were meant to be together. Harold kissed her mark, making her shiver. My perfect Luna, my true mate. And Aviana knew with absolute certainty that the moon goddess's plan had been perfect all along.